Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
Lirone, you are a global woman. You've spoken in over 20 countries, which is big as a speaker. And I know that, being an international speaker myself. I'm more sunsetted, but you're actively out there speaking. We were chatting a little bit before we got into the formal interview process. You're going to be coming to Bangkok here in short order. What are you going to be sharing about?
So first of all, it's always exciting to hear someone else says you've been speaking in over 20 countries, because, for me, it was like I just did the work. I just did what I wanted to do. And it's amazing thank you for acknowledging that as well. So yeah, I was actually invited to Bangkok. An interesting story how I got invited there, to one of the biggest tech conferences in Southeast Asia called Tech Sauce. And I'm invited to speak to tech founders, mostly Asians, and teach them and give them the skills how to network for results in the Western world. So basically, my job is to make sure that to help them get a bit outside of the Asian culture vibe, or leverage their culture and their advantage of being an Asian founder and adapt it to what the Western world want to hear and connect to.
Yeah, when I did a little background on you, I noticed two people I know personally. One was an NSA member when I was spending a lot of time in Singapore, and Gil Petersil, who I think is...
Petersil, yeah. I know him.
And Gil, and then of course, my old college classmate, we went to the same university, Ivan Meisner, Dr. Ivan Meisner.
Yeah.
From BNI, and we were in a mastermind together some years ago. And of course, Dr. Meisner is very big in the networking world as the founder of BNI, Business Networking International. So was he an inspiration to you, or is this something you devised on your own?
Definitely. So first of all, I read all the books. I had the honor of interviewing Mr. Meisner, and learning from him. And I have to say that the interview with him was at the beginning of my journey, and it was one of the most mind-blowing, conversations to get his gold nuggets on everything that's happening. But basically, my story started as I would say, very ambitious girl that wanted to do a lot of things, but just I felt frustrated. Many times product, solution, services comes from either frustration or mistake. For me, it was from frustration, and I said, I want to live big life. I want to go global, but I don't know anyone. So how do you start doing it? And I really started to investigate and see and observe how people connect, why someone gets this job or invited to this party and I wasn't. I really started observing, and then the next stage was to interview people such as Dr. Ivan Meisner and read all the books. And today, my methodology, the human factor method, which I teach around the world, I see it as the modern way of creating business, because I also, first of all, I include AI, and I also include a very I would say multi or interdisciplinary method and aspects to how to today connect authentically and strategically in order to live a fulfilled life and achieve our goals.
So how did you get... AI is so new for all of us. I mean, it started out with ChatGPT, and then the world has changed in the last 2.5 years. When it came on the scene in late November 2022, to where we are today. I mean, I'm an avid user of ChatGPT daily. I'm inside it. It's my buddy. And I think I have a deep relationship, and I'm going to marry it. I don't know if it's a male or a female, but certainly it's my companion. How have you embraced it with what you are an expert in?
So what you said now, it's very interesting because we build a relationship with our ChatGPT. You know, a colleague of mine just said recently that she won't let anyone look at her ChatGPT history because then they would know everything they have to know about her. So we really build deep relationship with this tool, but it's really important to remember this is a tool and it could be our co-pilot. And when it comes to relationship, again, I wouldn't let it replace me or, you know, write things instead of me. Yes, I would use it as a support to how to write things. And that's what I'm actually doing. I mean, this is an insane tool that can help you get into people's mind, understand, you know, I can give it like your LinkedIn and just Google results or just say your name and tell him what would be the best way for me to communicate with Mitch. Tell me what would be some things that I should actually say in the conversation to spark interest in me or to connect with him better. So this is really our secret weapon to be able to connect with people. So this is one thing. The other thing is really, again, before meetings, how should I manage or should I strategize the meeting? Of course, when it's come to personal branding, how should I write posts? But with that in mind, I would always give them a structure. So for example, I have several post types that I believe that build authority. So I would give him this post types and give him my information. Now, please help me write posts based on these criteria. So we always have to remember we are managing it, but we can definitely extract so much support and increase our level through it. The caveat here is that everyone might, you know, sound the same in a way. So we have to make sure that we bring it the final touch, that we make sure that if it tells us that a certain research says XYZ, we have to check that this research really exists. So, I mean, there is the danger here that we can come across as untrustworthy if we use it and we trust it 100%, at least now in July 2025. But it's definitely a tool that can really make the way we connect intentionally much better.
So let's go back to something you said, and this is a bit self-absorbed for me to say this. How did you prepare for this interview today? You said, did you put my LinkedIn profile? I mean, be honest. I'll know if your nose grows. You're not Pinocchio. So how?
I'm not Pinocchio and I'm not a liar. So
yeah,
I
there you
did
go
through I did go through your LinkedIn, you can see even I followed you earlier on Instagram. I looked at your podcast and your profile, and I'm not using it in many cases to ask how to communicate with people such as yourself, because I would say I feel confident enough. That's what I do for a living. I know how to connect with people. But I would use it if these are, you know, people I don't know, I don't have a lot of information about, or maybe, you know, a very big deal and I want to have an enhancement and someone else to tell me maybe you should use XYZ. And that's also, by the way, what I recommend my students, because sometimes they have less experience in how to connect with people and how to feel comfortable coming to a conversation. And this is where I tell them, hey, you can use it. It can really, you can become so relaxed when you know that there is something just, you know, in your computer or your phone that can really support you before you communicate with others. Imagine how much stress it can reduce to someone who's inherently anxious to speak to someone new. So this could really be an amazing way to support people. And I have to say that one of the most amazing researches I saw in recent years, it was about public speaking, but still, it says that about 90% of all people, it was done in the US, have some type of social anxiety, meaning it could be a social anxiety if I talk to authority, if I talk to 2 people, or if I talk to 20 people. So we all have some kind of, you know, the uncomfortable feeling or anxiety communicating with other people. So this AI could really, if we know how to use it right, can really be our friend and relax us and help us come more confident and, you know, at ease to any encounter.
So I want to highlight something you said, and I would say this is takeaway number 1. Use AI as a tool and use it to you have already got the skill set, either learned or natural, to connect with people. But for the people who don't necessarily connect as easily as you, Lirone, I believe what you said is a very solid gold gem, where I get use it as a tool and to enhance the connection. Add in their LinkedIn, put it into ChatGPT, maybe look at their website. I, like you, have no trouble connecting with people. Been a speaker for 40 years, spoken all over the world many, many times. So it's easy for me to connect. But if I want to become a super connector, I'll do some background. AI has shortened that process. Would you agree? So to
Definitely.
where now we are connected on LinkedIn, I immediately responded to you earlier. This is great. I scanned your LinkedIn. That's where I picked up on Dr. Meisner and Gil Petersil, whom I met at an NSA meeting in Singapore some years back before the pandemic. Very sharp guy, bold, out there, strong character. Most speakers are, at least in the extroverted environment. And it may give you a leg up, because if you cite something about somebody that isn't necessarily readily available, it shows interest. And how important is that?
Definitely. Definitely. And even, I wanted to share one of your posts actually before this, and then I said I will share it after our conversation. I went through some of your videos on Instagram, which are amazing and with so much knowledge. And there was one that you said that if a company is on TV, then that could lead to having more securing more podcast or radio interviews. And one of my services for startups are actually bringing them to national TV in the US. And I couldn't agree more. I was listening and watching and like, yes, of course, definitely. Like I so totally agree with him. And this agreement, or even we'll call it a common ground or commonalities, these are also connection drivers for people. And as we connect to something that reminds us of ourselves. It feels secure. It feels, fun. It feels nice. It feels like we know what it's about. And with that in mind, knowing how important common ground is when connecting with other people, I created what I call the 4 P's of common ground. Because some people, again, maybe you and me are now much better in it, but some people are uncomfortable connecting with people, and in many ways, and they're like awkward conversations. So I usually offer them to consider the 4 P's of common ground, which are talking about these 4 topics. One could be passions, places, people, and present. And see, that's what we did. We talked about passions would be, I guess we're here because we're both passionate about speaking, branding, and networking. We talked about places. So you're now in Asia, in Bangkok. I'm coming there. People, you mentioned people that are connected to us, and present. What happens right now? So these are great 4 main topics that you could extract so many little topics and common grounds to talk about.
Yeah, I love it. The 4 Ps. And it's not related to marketing, the traditional marketing of product, place, price. And I forgot the last one. It was so long ago that I did that in my MBA work some years ago. But the 4 Ps there, but yours are much more practical for today. And you've also written a book. I'm a big fan of writing a book or a series of books.
Yeah.
What motivated you to write your first book?
Wow. So I was always saying that I validated my book for 12 years in 26 countries. Basically, I've following of what I said earlier about being really frustrated and, starting to understand how do people make connections that really leads to results and help them live a fulfilled life. I developed a methodology, the 6 pillars of the human factor method. And after teaching it around the world, there is a stage where you say, okay, I've done so much now. I want to make sure that this knowledge will reach many more people globally. And that was the incentive and the motivation to actually do it. It's here next to me, the Super Connectors Playbook. I'm very proud of this book. And this actually has the method, which I'm happy to share as well, some AI tips. And it's a modern guide to be able to know how to achieve your goals through relationship building and connect to anyone.
Is it available on Amazon?
It's available on Amazon. We have the audiobook, ebook, soft cover, hardcover, everything.
Well, I had an interview earlier today with a woman that handles the production side of books, where a lot of people don't do very well, and everybody has their niche. I asked her the question about audiobooks. Was it your voice, or did you pay somebody?
Interesting question. So on my end, yeah, I speak English. It's not my first language, but I feel pretty comfortable speaking in English. Yet, because, and now it's more of the marketing aspect, because I wanted to appeal to so many people, and yeah, I know that I have an accent. I decided to take
Very
someone
little.
who's very little. I used to live in Sydney for a few years. I picked up the Aussie accent, then in New
Uh,
York, and then I picked up the American accent. But I prefer to take a professional American, Erica Calvert from LA. She was amazing. I love her voice, and she just became my companion in so many ways. We're still in touch, and so I earned a friend. Speaking about networking, I earned a friend, and also someone who's I'm really proud that read my book.
well, and it brings up an interesting point. Do you do it yourself, or is it a nuanced industry where you can use an AI tool? There are all sorts of tools that will read your text for you, but still not 100%. They will mispronounce a word or two, and it'll tease somebody to, oh, this is AI. This is not Lirone reading this. This is a robot. This is her AI equivalent reading it. And instead, you chose a professional voiceover artist, is what they are. They know how to do this. So you delegate when necessary.
Yeah. I try to, even though I am the brand, I am the authority, and I jeopardize in, having people maybe less connected to me if they hear someone else's voice, but people who know me. But I guess people who doesn't know me, that they don't know it's not my voice, even though she said her name, she says her name. But essentially, like anything we do in our business, it's really about the message, even when I come on stage, or when a friend of mine just a few weeks ago, she called me, she says, look, I'm about to get on a stage with 2,000 people in New York City. I'm so scared. What can I do? Like, how can I, make sure to make it right? And I told her, first of all, breathe. But before that, one of your goals, before getting on stage, even on podcast stage, one of your goals should be to get excited. If you're not excited, if you're not a bit shaky, something is wrong. This is such a human feeling. So I told her, first of all, that's okay. You should feel this way. Then after like the first, I don't know, 1 or 2 minutes that you got used to your position speaking there, people would want to know what they gain from your talk. So the value, the message, and that brings me back to the book. Once people read any, text or book or so on, if the message strikes them, then they will stay. And they don't care that this is not Lirone speaking and this is someone else. They would want to stay there for what they can get out of it. And that's what I believe in when it comes to this, to the book.
Well, let's talk your speaking career. How did you get into that? Because most of the time people dream about it. Some will go to Toastmasters or Agora Speakers, which are the two competing organizations that train people that are brand new, get them to where they can speak for about 7 minutes, getting rid of the ums, the ahs, and the you knows, or like all of those annoying verbal faux pas, and it'll get kicked out of you going through those types of trainings. Then there's the jump to becoming a professional speaker where you're invited at conferences with hundreds, if not thousands, of speakers. What did you do to make that leap?
Great question. So I started when I was 16, to be honest. I knew there was something in me that always knew I can speak. Obviously, I've gained a lot of experience since 16, but the story is, it's actually in my book, that I knocked on the one of the regional radio stations. I grew up in Israel, and I knocked on his door, and the CEO of the radios on the door, and I told him, look, I would like to work for you, and I would like to produce a show. And then he believed in me and gave me like $20 per month for a commute, and I was like, this was my life, the biggest deal I've done. And after a few months, I told him, look, I know I can, as we say, open a microphone, and I want to have a show, and I want to start broadcasting. And he believed in me.
Was it in Hebrew or in English?
In Hebrew.
Okay.
In Hebrew, and he believed in me. And then I was one of the youngest radio presenters in Israel. Now, the radio, it gives you a lot of verbal experience. You know how to talk, how to use your voice, of course. But then again, it's a different thing than standing in front of audiences and people. And then, by the way, some interesting, I would say, mutual experience that we both had. after a few years, I was approached by the Israeli shopping channel, and they said, look, because you have an experience as a radio presenter, and we only sell products in one take. We can't afford having several takes for every sale.
Never.
So we know you know how to speak very accurate and fast. And they took me, and I was a presenter at the Israeli shopping channel for 2 years. So with that in mind, I gained experience in, standing on stages, radio, TV. And then the leap was actually to decide. I decided I want to become a global speaker. And at the beginning, like many other business stories, I started from scratch. I really spoke everywhere that I was able to. I was paid nothing, even for free. I wanted to validate my method, and I wanted to be there. So it's really started from small. Like my first client was Tel Aviv University. And then I wanted to have this, you talked about the global. I wanted to have the global, star on my resume. So I approached a BNI group in London, and I told them, hey, I would love to speak there. And I paid my own flight ticket to get there. I gave a talk to those business owners, and this is where I started my international speaking career. And from that point on, becoming, speaking in Thailand in one of the biggest tech conferences, it's about being there. It's about connection. It's about my brand. I work hard for things to happen. But it's also about how leveraging opportunities. For example, last August, I was in Berlin, and I was at this meetup, and someone introduced me to a guy who's, his name is Martin, and he manages a big conference called Asia Berlin. This is like a legacy conference. And I was introduced to him, and I asked him about the conference. And then I told him, look, he said he needs some support. And I connected him to my contact at IBM. And I tried to really, really help him, because that's who I am. I have a lot of connections, and why not helping other people? And then I didn't sell myself, but I told him, look, I also speak globally, and I also moderate panels. So if in any way I can support you, I'll be so happy to participate in an Asia Berlin conference. And so I did. A few weeks later, he sent me a message. I connected him to IBM, and then he invited me to moderate 2 panels there at Asia Berlin. Now, interesting point for anyone here, for speakers, usually before any conference, there is the reception evening. They're running like this reception for all the speakers. So during this reception, it was at SAP in Berlin, I met this woman from Thailand, and we spoke for about, 15, 20 minutes. I mostly found interest in her. Then she asked some questions about me. And after those 20 minutes talk, she's like, okay, I want you to become a speaker. I want you to come. I want to invite you as a speaker at Texas in Thailand. That was in January. The conference is in August. So that's how things happen.
Well,
Be nice,
it's interesting.
give.
Yeah, it's an interesting parallel. I'm a few years older than you, quite a few years older, but our stories are very similar in that we've got some background. I was on Home Shopping Network selling for 3 years in America to up to 5 million viewers, when I was on air. It's very different today because Amazon has chopped their legs off. But that was great to learn how to sell and be comfortable on camera. But it's a different leap to get into a live stage. And I was also a radio show host in LA. And I still have a show on NBC Channel 3 in Las Vegas, television, network television. All of them work. Many of the skills are transferable. You just have to go do it. You were smart. You flew on your own nickel to London to go speak at BNI, and that probably opened more doors. You have footage, proof, B-roll to use to enhance the Lirone Glikman brand. And then you've also got Ivan Meisner. My gosh, you don't get any higher than the founder of BNI. It's great. I use him in my presentations when I talk about who I've shared the stage with. I show him, I show a bunch of other people, and it's collective. The beauty of rubbing elbows, you never know. You give first is what you have. I'm summarizing your key points here. I'm sure AI will help me after. But you talked about rubbing elbows with this lady in Thailand, and then you got booked. I have been on stages now 41 years, 63 countries around the world, multiple times around the world, over 2,000 events. I have never marketed myself. It has all come from rubbing elbows with people, networking, just like you said. So my head is nodding like the little dog in the back of the car, that's saying you're sharing gold, Lirone, absolute gold. And do you work as a keynote now, or are you mostly moderating? What's your most successful path today?
So I run workshops around the world for
Mm-hmm.
corporate and startups, accelerators on business relationship and personal branding. Now I'm also launching the Super Connectors workshop, which is actually a 3-day workshop for, again, organizations or for startups accelerators,
Mm-hmm.
just giving them those tools. And if you don't mind, I'll share the tools.
Please.
I share the method because it makes so much sense. As I said earlier, nobody teaches us how to network or build a brand, but this is essential. We don't have the privilege not to do it today. And of course, you know it, and many of the listeners know it, but nobody teaches us how to do it. So how can we do it? So basically, the method which I teach starts with a goal. Many times we are unsure what our goal is. And I really formulate goals into personal, professional. I also talk about ikigai, if you know,
Oh,
which is
sure.
kind of a method to really understand what we love, what the world needs, what we're good at. So this is a crucial thing because I see business relationship and personal branding as a way to achieve our goals. So we have to know what it is. Then it's about what I like to call people strategy. Like we have business plan and marketing plan. Why won't we have people plan? And the idea is to, many times we have a lot of people around us, but we don't necessarily see the value that they can bring us because we think it's not okay, because we just box them into being our friend. But that's a bit wrong because the people who love us the most would be the people who would want to help us the most, and vice versa. So I try to kind of change the perception and understand that the people around us to kind of understand how they can support us, and also where can we meet the people that could support us. So this is more of a strategic part of people strategy. Then it's about branding, because when I approached you, for example, the first thing you did was to probably have a look who I am. So when we contact any person, they would Google us. So you need to make sure your brand is good, not only online, but also face to face. You know what your messages are, how you bring yourself. So then we had the goal, we had people strategy, your personal brand, and then it's about connecting, how to break the ice, how to build a rapport, how to create a small talk, how to understand what makes people tick. And then maintaining relationship, which is the hardest part. I think Ivan Meisner maybe said that the maintaining relationships is the working in the word networking, but there are different ways to make it more efficient. And the last one is leverage for results, is how to, I wouldn't say influence, but make people want to support us. So goal, people strategy, brand, connection, maintaining relationship, and leverage for your results.
Awesome. Awesome. So how can people get in touch with you?
I'm actually everywhere.
You're everywhere. Okay.
LinkedIn, Instagram. My website is lironeglikman.com. You can Google me on YouTube, of course, TikTok. I'm always happy and as responsive as I can.
Well, and you've also got a giveaway once they invest in your book. Tell them about that.
Yes, definitely. So basically, it's the connection kit, connection mastery kit, and I always I enhance it as much as I can. So basically, once you go on my website, lironeglikman.com, and you can purchase the book on Amazon, then you just have to write your name and information, and you get to have the full workbook. So the book has some exercises, but I also provide the full workbook for free, and then a few videos of how to basically build, how to achieve your goals, how to connect in conferences, how to just make business or get your goals through relationship building. So a few really good master classes that are also attached to this giveaway.
Well, that's great. I mean, you've shared some great gems today. Thank you so much for being the guest on the Amazing Authorities podcast, of which you certainly are an amazing authority. And I hope to
Mitch,
see you
thank
in
you.
Bangkok when you come out. And I'm going to look into that event and see how I can make that happen. And we'll look at the dates in August, you said.
And I have to say again, it's such a great pleasure, Mitch, being here and meeting you in person through video. And I really appreciate the opportunity, and keep up your amazing work and bringing the voices of so many interesting people around the world through your show.
We'll have you back again once you come up with your next book, because I know a one book author wants to be a second book author.
Exactly. Well, this is the first one. We're still working on it, but
yeah. Well, there
next
might
one
be a
will
second.
come. It will come.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Lirone, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to mitchcarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.